can hear you.
Okay, so I'm here. I saw your message. Sorry, I was having a little trouble getting on.
No problem. You're right on time, sir, as always.
Okay.
I'm setting up our live stream here, and we'll start momentarily.
Okay, let me change my. I was a comedy class. I want to change this. There.
Hope everybody's enjoying this nice windy Saturday.
Beautiful day. Hi, Tony. Who else? Good morning, everyone. I see Daryl. Good morning. Good afternoon, rather.
Late comes early, Mike.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Hey, John. Hey, Michael.
Hey.
There. So
how is everyone?
For everybody who's on already, welcome. We just posted the agenda for today in the chat, so we encourage you to review that. Keep yourself on mute until and unless you're recognized to speak. For anybody who's calling in, and we'll repeat this, but if you're calling in, you have to press *6 to unmute yourself. You can raise your hand or press *9, or you can briefly, interrupt and try to get our attention if you really have something you want to say, and we'll recognize you. Please wait to be recognized before speaking. Say your name and street when you're recognized. Remember, we're focused on information and facts. We respect and value everybody's opinion, but we all got opinions, so we may not have time to hear everybody, but we'll do our best. And of course, we're recording today's meeting and live streaming it on YouTube. For those who are not already following us on YouTube and other social media, we encourage you to do so. All you have to do is go to YouTube and look for UHA2's channel. But otherwise, welcome, neighbors. It's 2 p.m., so we want to honor our time and yours as well. Thank you for taking time on this windy Saturday to hang out with us. Before we officially gavel the meeting to order, I want to, as always, ask one of our elders to just wave your hand or nod your approval if you give us permission to proceed. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And Mr. Nicholas, former UHA president, we appreciate that. I am John Heath. I'm the president of UHA, United Homeowners Association. We are the nonprofit mutual benefit corporation that represents residents of unincorporated Windsor Hills, View Park, and View Heights. So if you live anywhere between Crenshaw, La Brea, Stocker, and Slauson, and within shouting distance of that area, you are eligible to become a member of UHA and to participate in what we do to benefit and represent this community. First of all, I want to also, in addition to thanking you guys for being here, I want to take a minute and just pause to acknowledge those folks that we've lost since we last met last month. We'll be talking in a minute about Dr. Art Fields, who was the founding president of UHA back in 1979, but he just passed away this last Tuesday. This morning we had the services for another one of our members, Charles Covington. His father, Clifford Covington, had a beautiful homegoing service that some of our board members were able to attend. So, I'm sure there are other folks that you all are aware of out there that are friends, neighbors, loved ones, and otherwise. And we just want to take a minute to pause and reflect and honor those lives and really rededicate ourselves to doing everything that we can as a community to support, improve, and expand public health. Because whether you're talking about access to the vaccine, mental health, cardiovascular, dietary, you name it, we could all stand to do better and improve that. So anyway, just a moment of silence if you don't mind. Thank you. So also, I always want to acknowledge my fellow board members as well. Tony McDonald Tabor, Daryl Grayson, Michael Hudson, Richard Rice, Joanne Fountain, Dr. Helen Sellers, Aaron Raymond. I think that covers everybody. We want to say thank you guys. I had a very nice conversation with Melba Fields Dr. Fields' widow earlier this morning, and she was very complimentary of us and the leadership that we're presenting to help our community. So just want to share that with you guys and let you all know it's an honor to work with you on this ongoing venture. Officially calling the meeting to order, and want to take a minute. I'm sure that some people here knew Dr. Art Fields. He's responsible for founding the original UHA, which was formed in 1979. I see Brother Tony Nicholas is nodding his head. I'm sure he'll probably want to say something in a moment, but I just want to say that, you know, having Dr. Fields in particular as a mentor and a wise advisor that was always there to kind of give us some feedback and weigh in on a couple of key meetings at key points was invaluable. And obviously we all know that we stand on the shoulders of some great folks that have gone before us. So we want to thank Dr. Fields, thank his family members for sharing him with our community, because we know that's always a sacrifice, right? When you're that involved and that dedicated, something has to give in your life. So we want to thank his wife Melba and son Christopher, daughter Brandy, and just, you know, take a minute to acknowledge what a blessing this man was, not only for our community, but he was a great educator. Beverly Hills Schools District, I believe he was the principal of Beverly Hills High School, if I'm not mistaken, and very active member of Trinity Baptist Church, and before that, I believe Second Baptist Church. Just one of those folks that was a real stalwart in the community. And what I'd like to do before I open it up for comments, if you all will bear with me here, I'm gonna see if I can't make sure the sound is going. I just want to play a little something. This is Dr. Fields and our neighbor, Miss Lauren A. Jackson, interviewing him back in 2009. This was the 30th anniversary of UHA's founding. And this is only about 3 minutes, but just take a listen to Dr. Fields talking about what was the impetus for forming UHA. There was a plan to put a skating rink up there where the budget self-storage is now. And check this out.
Back in those days, we had Kenneth Hahn supporting us, and Tom Bradley and so forth. I could go on and name others who were very supportive of the residents that lived here in the area. So we went down and we finally had the meeting before the Planning Commission. And it was interesting because there was a lady named Pat Russell, who was a city councilman in Los Angeles at that time, who represented View Heights. And she had met with Mrs. Armstrong and several of the neighbors that lived in View Heights, and had assured them that she was against the skating rink and so forth, and that she would support them. And we expected that. But when we finally went before the Planning Commission, everyone on that commission spoke in favor of our not having that in our neighborhood, except Pat Russell. So we were not very happy about that. But Pat Russell, really, although she was a city councilman that represented View Heights and other areas in the city, she lived in Westchester and was really only concerned about Westchester. And I'm just throwing that out so that people know that we did have quite a task to convince the commission that this shouldn't happen. As a result of that, I started thinking about it, and it came to me that we really needed to have an umbrella organization that would be over block clubs and other organizations within the three communities, View Park, View Heights, and Windsor Hills. So when we came up against big issues like this, that a block club couldn't solve, or a few individuals couldn't solve, and we didn't want to have to do the thing of walking the blocks and that kind of thing, or having to go to phone trees to be able to contact all the people if there was something that was happening right away, that we needed to have a lot of people go down and make a presence to, whether it was the county, city, or whatever. And I remember the first meeting that we had, and I called Lula Armstrong and Dolores Ridgway, and Mr. Ford and Ed Brantley and Lavoy Johnson. Mr. and Mrs. Baxter came, and a couple of others. And I presented this idea to them in that small group of creating an umbrella organization. And they were very interested in doing that. So as a result of that, that's when the Homeowners Association was beginning to come into being. And so from that small group of people, we contacted other people because we had names and addresses from when we went down to the commission regarding the roller skating rink. And we contacted these people, and then we have a larger meeting of people, and everyone agreed to that, and they decided that they wanted to do this. We didn't have
That's the great Dr. Art Fields. Hopefully everybody was able to hear that and appreciate that. Again, that's that's somebody who stood very tall amongst the giants in our neighborhood and community, and he will be missed. Tony Nicholas, do you want to weigh in, unmute yourself, and share a few things?
Yes. Well, thank you, John. Thank you for the opportunity, and everybody at UHA. I'll give a really brief history on my relationship with Art. It was back in 1992. One evening I was at home, and I heard a knock at the door, and Art was standing there. He says, "I'm Art Fields." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm Tony Nicholas." He said, "I know who you are." He said, "You're going to be the next president of UHA." And I said, "What?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Listen, I've talked to people around the community. I know you're a community activist." And he says, "I think you'll be perfect as president of UHA." So the next meeting I attended, and it was a unanimous vote. I'll bring up some other folks, Walter Dubuclet and Leon Davis, just legends within UHA. And they were all there, and they said that they'd work with me and they'll be on the board. Larney was also there, and we did some wonderful things in those first few years because of working with Art and working with everyone. The Simply Wholesome, for instance, they wanted to put a mixed use project there, and we fought against that. And that's why, as a matter of fact, it was here at my house. We had a meeting and had a meeting with the branch manager at Wells Fargo, and at that meeting, Art was at that meeting, and the branch manager said, "Well, listen, if we give this money to the folks who want to build this restaurant," he said, "will you support it?" And I said, "I'll be first in line." And he said, "Oh, based on that," he said, "you're going to have Simply Wholesome." And then we had a big to do with the CVS. We fought against that. At that time, Bobby Parks was so against it, but we fought against it. We fought against them, and we had that. That's why we had the CVS there.
And Tony, just to be clear, that you guys were fighting about was the plan to put a cell tower at the CVS, right? Was that the issue?
Yes, that was the issue. Yep. Then, of course, there was the issue with the oil derricks. They wanted to build a power plant, and we went up against them. We joined with the other homeowners associations, and we had over 2,000 people at West LA College. And as a result of that, we sent a word to Governor Davis, and we defeated that. Art was right there. He had my back. And this goes on and on. There was the whole idea of a pawn shop right there at the 5 Points, right there at that district. We fought against that. We went to had to go downtown on that. We went down in busloads, and Art was right there. They wanted to put a pawn shop right there, but we fought against that and won. But there were just so many victories that we had during that time. And of course, we had went heads up against Chuck Quarles, and Chuck is still around trying to do his thing, but we beat him. We beat him back. And John, under John's leadership, we're going to beat him again. But Art was always an advisor. Whenever anything would come up, I would always call him. I said, Art, I need your guidance on this, man. And he would give his time, he would give his advice. And that's why a lot of people don't know this. At one time, the LA Times recognized UHA as the most powerful and political homeowners association in Southern California. There was an article in the LA Times. And it's because of all those victories that we had. And we're going to have more.
Absolutely.
John is such a great leader. I'm just so proud. Be there.
And definitely appreciate everything you shared about Dr. Fields. That's right on the money, sir. And it's definitely an honor to follow in his footsteps and yours. And I see another past UHA president hanging out back there in the background, Brother Theo Irving. Theo, you want to unmute and say a couple quick words?
Oh, my man, Theo.
I'll be very quick. Yeah. Art. Wow. So what comes to me is Art's spirit, his tenacity, and fighting on behalf of this community. And so, I got brought into UHA's board by one Mrs. Sarah Rogers. Not too many people are around to know Sarah Rogers, and so she brought me into the fold. And meeting with her and Art, I got a sense of what had to be done and how it had to be done to protect this community. And Art made it very clear, through his attitude that we were fighters and we're going to fight to protect this neighborhood. So when I joined the board as a member of the land use committee, he was there making certain that, some of the battles that Tony talked about, the pawn shop, CBS, we even had to we had a little bit of a battle with the gasoline station down there, that United gas station. They didn't, that concept wasn't the first concept that they were proposing for the United gas station, but they wanted to come into the neighborhood and they wanted to make certain that they got UHA's blessing. So they went back and redesigned their project. And it has been an award-winning design at that gas station. Not many people are aware of it. And so they came back and forth. And the other one is the battle that we had with regards to that apartment building or / condo on Slauson. And right now the site is being developed. And Art was not going to let any of that happen. Once he found out that that was not really a condo, but an affordable housing project,
Right.
Art was not going to let that go. And Art made clear that we opposed that. And so we were successful. But what really struck me about Art is how he galvanized people. He got people on those buses to go downtown to the Planning Commission. He and I'm missing the lady's name right now, but she was very, very instrumental in making certain that, we got the buses, we got the people fed, we got them downtown, we got them back home safely. They got a chance to voice their opinion in front of the commission. And as you pointed out, Tony, that was very powerful. And,
Oh yeah.
It was very, very powerful when you have well-spoken people in front of a body of decision maker. Is very powerful. So they knew that UHA was not just a bunch of ragtag homeowners coming together complaining. They came
to say the least.
Yeah, we came downtown and very articulate, very prepared, made our arguments. And so, Tony, you spoke of the successes, but to me, it goes back to John, to what Art did in terms of providing the spirit of this organization and telling them how we had to protect our community, that it was on our watch to get this thing done. So, I'm left with fond memories of Art. I love, how he supported me in my leadership. He was tremendous. He never made me feel that that I was out there alone. As a leader of the organization, sometimes you're up there, you're second guessing yourself. I guess that's how I felt. And Art said, no, this is how we're going to do it. And he was very fierce in his determination to protect the interests of this community. So I have the greatest, fondest memories of Art. Melba, God bless her and those kids that what they're dealing with right now.
Yep.
So yeah, I just close it out there, John. Thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts about Artfield, Dr. Artfields.
Absolutely. And
Very good, Theo.
we appreciate both you, Theo, and Tony for sharing those remembrances. And what can you say? This man was a real leader who people felt that genuineness and that authenticity and that passion, and they responded to it. So anybody else want to share something real fast about Dr. Fields? All right. Well, I want to thank Tony and Theo, and also our neighbor Stan Ricketts from Baldwin Hills Estates. I did not know about that video link, and Stan mentioned it on Nextdoor the other day. So appreciate that. And of course, keep Melba and Christopher and Brandy in your prayers and thoughts, and check in on them. Now they're okay because the phone is ringing and everybody's over there, or at least check in on them. But in the weeks and months to come, let's take a minute and reach out to them and let them know that we love them and we're thinking about them. Let's talk about COVID-19. I don't know if our neighbor, Dr. Derek Butler, is on, or if we have any other medical doctors. I'm gonna scan real fast and see if I see anybody, but definitely wanna open the floor to anybody who's a lot more educated than I am about the COVID-19 situation, and very specifically what we can do as a community to make sure that not only the people that are eligible here get vaccinated, but that we're spreading that word and helping as many of our neighbors get vaccinated as possible. I'm going to do another, looks like I had a button pushed here to share my sound. That was weird. Give me 1 second, folks. Let me see if I can get this up here. So if you're in need of making an appointment, or if you come across somebody who needs to make an appointment, the link for that online is vaccinatelacounty.com. That will take you to this site, and you can click here to book an appointment, and it'll take you through the information about what you can do to be vaccinated, who's eligible. Obviously right now it's just limited to healthcare workers and long-term skilled nursing care and other long-term care facility workers and people that are 65 and older. So hopefully everybody who is eligible to be vaccinated that's listening right now has already gone through this process and gotten, if not both vaccinations, at least that initial shot. But the reason this is so important, hopefully you guys can all see this. This is the map of LA County, and the dark green areas show the places where greater than 18 or 19% of folks have been vaccinated. So the lighter areas are where there's minimal vaccinations. And as you might guess, you can guess, the middle of the city, South LA, East LA, right where predominantly the highest rate of deaths. I think Latinos are dying, unfortunately, at the highest rate, but African Americans are right behind that group. So we got to do better at getting vaccinated. This is our neighborhood right here, and we're not quite light green, but we could probably do a little bit better. So again, the folks that have access to healthcare and resources, hey, they're getting vaccinated. We need to do our part to darken this area up. So I'm going to suggest, and in fact ask right now for volunteers. If anybody who's on the call right now wants to unmute, raise your hand, send us a message, or otherwise let us know that you're willing to take some time to get on the phone, serve as a collection point for information, and to disseminate that information out to our folks in the community. We're getting asked quite often. I got calls from staff people for Councilmember Curran Price, Councilmember Harris Dawson. Both of them have been instrumental at getting vaccination sites up and running in their respective council districts. I believe tomorrow at Faithful Central Bible Church in Inglewood, there'll be vaccinations. Jan Perry, I see you. Thank you for volunteering to help out. You've got a great network and we can use that. But yeah, there's so much information and so much disinformation that I think it's really important for there to be an organized effort, and whatever the public agencies and elected officials are doing, we can do more to support that. So anybody on here want to comment on that or weigh in and offer your time and services to volunteer? We want to hear from you. Jan Perry is the only.
Hey, John,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I see Derek Butler's on if you're still looking for him.
I am. Dr. Butler, you want to weigh in and unmute yourself and share some thoughts with your neighbors on this most important issue?
Unmute yourself.
Sorry, I just popped in and I heard you kind of toward the last 10 seconds of what you were talking about. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, but I appreciate you being here. I know you're busy. We are trying to solicit other neighbors to get involved in the effort to collect and disseminate information about getting vaccinated, where to do it, how to do it, helping people that may need help navigating the internet and the appointment process. So having somebody like you weigh in just on the point of, what we can do to support that effort in public health in general would be appreciated.
Okay, no problem. I mean, I can just tell you, obviously the vaccines are being sourced in multiple different arenas, as you mentioned. As you know, the Biden administration has started kind of their own federal vaccine effort. They're opening up like major centers. And the LA County Public Health Department, that's really the main source that's been running with this so far. If any of you if you go to the LA County Department of Public Health website, they have online, there's two ways, obviously. There's online through their website. If you could just Google LADPH, Department of Public Health, COVID vaccine distribution.
That's the vaccinateLAcounty.com site, right?
Yeah, or if you go LA County DPH vaccine distribution, and they list the tiers, and they list, if you click down, there's a link to like make an appointment or find a vaccination site. I know the sites that they're running. Now that does take, again, some internet savvy. I don't personally know of a number to call. I'm sure it's inundated if it's there.
John, I have a number. I'm sorry, Derek. I have a number for you when you guys are ready.
Why don't you put it on the chat?
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt, Derek.
No problem. Yeah, put it on the chat for everyone and they can actually take it down quick and have it there. I would recommend any of you, Kaiser's giving vaccines to their people, if you are a Kaiser patient, I know they have their own resources. They're a pod that has gotten huge vaccine allotments. Now you have to navigate the Kaiser system to get them. I know that can be sometimes difficult, but if you're in that system, also the VA, if you're a veteran, the VA is also distributing vaccine for their members too. So some of you may be able to access that. And some of you, I guess in some of the major hospital systems, networks have some of their own. That may be a way to circumvent kind of going through the public systems too. Some of the health centers are also doing them too. And they're supposed to be following the tiers that have been laid out. As you know, right now, they're on to the 65 plus seniors. I think the next tier is going to be the people with chronic conditions under 65, teachers, I think are next also, as they're trying to open the schools, and other frontline workers. But on the website, it does lay out again, all of those folks who should be eligible. But definitely if you're over 65, you're already in that network of that group that should be eligible to get vaccinated right now. It's just a matter of how to, where to. Now, again, signing up online, I know may be difficult or maybe a challenge for some folks. I wish I did know resources that would assist with that. And I guess this phone number she's putting there would be able to assist. But again, I don't know if anybody's tried it and if it's how easy it is to actually get through to that number.
Go ahead, Alicia. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I actually work for Department of Public Health with the COVID Tier 1 frontline unit right now. And yes, that is the appointment line. But I will tell you that when you call, they can only book appointments that are available. So it's basically what you see on the public health line. If you see that appointments are not available, most likely when you call that number, they will try and search for you for any available appointments. But right now, anybody who has not received their first vaccine, call ASAP, because most of the sites now are only administering the second dose. They're trying to get ready for the next tier. So first doses are very limited.
Thanks for that information.
I don't know if you mentioned this too, but it was also in the papers because of the cold weather.
Yes.
In other parts of the country, the vaccine has been delayed, the delivery, especially
Yes.
the Moderna vaccine,
Yes.
because it's manufactured in Michigan, so it has to cross the country. And as you know, half of the country was, like out of power and snowed in. So they said it's maybe a week delay. So there may be some delay in getting appointments. So just understand that that's might be happening.
Go ahead, Derek, I'm sorry. And
Please, go ahead.
anyone who is scheduled for an appointment at any of the LA sites, those are sites that were under the fire department. If you book them online, 6 of those sites are right now closed because of the lack of the vaccine. But we were told that your appointments will automatically be rescheduled and you'll receive either a phone call, a text, or an email with your new appointment. If you don't want to wait, you can still call the appointment line and try and schedule an appointment instead of waiting for the notification. But there are a lot of people that have appointments scheduled for this weekend and possibly Monday or Tuesday. 6 of those sites are closed. Those are the major sites like Dodger Stadium. A lot of those sites were closed. But I wanted to tell you too, Kedron is a good place to go for vaccines.
That's
Abraham doing work.
That's
right.
Kedron Health Facility that's at, is it 42nd and Avalon?
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay.
I think is it 42nd or 41st, one of the two. And Avalon, what you see on the news, they are trying to, or we are trying to get more African Americans to that location. For some reason, it's not known, I guess, to our community, but that is a good location to go to.
Right.
Hey,
John? Go ahead, Daryl.
No, I just wanted to say, Jessie's had her hand up for a while in case you didn't notice it.
I hadn't. Okay, we'll swing back to that real fast to just put an exclamation point behind what Alicia was saying. Not only we took some of our residents to the site at Kedron a couple weeks ago, and they're going back this week for their second dose. But we hear, from the council offices, like last week, I think they were at Green Meadows Rec Center, and then Marquise's people were at 70th and Figueroa, and I'm sure we'll hear word again this week on where some of those sites are, where they have additional, some of them. I got a call from somebody at LA County Public Health who said, if you know people that are looking to get vaccinated, they can show up at the forum and we'll work with them at the end of our appointments. But in this case, when we hear about stuff, it's a thing where if you go, there's no waiting, you just go and get the vaccination. So that's an important opportunity. Jesse,
Right.
Did you want to weigh in on something?
Oh,
you got to unmute yourself, Jesse.
Yes.
There we go. Go ahead.
The other thing that I was going to say is that people miss out that Rite Aid and pavilions are also vaccinating, and you can make an appointment and go. The Rite Aid, I was really surprised. The Rite Aid at Slauson and Crenshaw was making appointments. At least it was making appointments last week, and so was pavilions. I mean, you don't have to go way out to these other places,
right?
And it's important to make an appointment, and even if it's 10 days out, then you're in line and you don't have to go running around anyplace else.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Jesse. I was going to say, I saw where the CVS, I believe the newer one in Playa Vista, is doing the vaccine. So Let me make a suggestion just so we can start to collect this information. If you all become aware of sites like what Jesse is saying, or Dr. Butler or Alicia or others have shared, where they're doing vaccinations and it may be kind of a temporary thing, why don't you either send us an email info@uhavp.org, which is also at the bottom of the agenda, or you can call us. Call the office number 323-248-1699 and just leave us that information, and we'll see with the people that we get to volunteer and run this effort. Hopefully we can collect that information and get it out to the folks who really need it. Because this information, the reason why our people aren't taking advantage of it largely is because they don't know about it.
Oh,
John,
Hang on, go ahead, Derek, go ahead.
give me a minute. Can you allow me to share my screen? I'm going to show the website and how to sign up.
Yeah, you should be able to do that. Let me give it a try.
You have to allow me to share.
All right, give it a try now.
Let's disable share screen. Okay, let me try. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Screen. Okay. Hold on, share. And
while you're looking that up, Derek, do we know what's required to make appointments at Kedron and some of these other facilities, or is it just you got to go through the website?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
we've been there. We've been there.
You've been to the site. So you go here. I don't know if you see the screen. This is the link I sent. Vaccine for healthcare workers over 65. You scroll down and you click on make an appointment.
Right.
Here. And then it brings up another screen, vaccine appointments. And it's going to, are you one of these people? Just say, yes, I agree. And then you scroll down and it starts listing all the sites here where you can get vaccine. And you scroll down, it has multiple sites. You see that St. John's Kedron should be on this list, etc. Some places are full, as you can see, as it says in some still have appointments like this place. And it tells you what type of vaccine is available, where, and if you keep scrolling, it kind of goes on and actually starts listing pharmacies. You can see here Albertsons, Costco, Pavilions, Ralph's, Rite Aid, Vons, and you just click on those links, Walgreens, to make appointments to any of those places. So if you can get to that website and click through, it's a place you should put online.
Got it.
There are two things. That site does not include the one at Cal State. You have to go through the state site for that, which is a real pain because almost everything is on this one except the Cal State site. But the other thing is that if you're a Kaiser member, they are calling based on their own criteria. My mother's 92. We've already had her first shot, and she's scheduled for her next one. So people who are on Kaiser should let their the real thing is just send an email to your primary physician and let them know that you are available, and they will get to you. They call when they're ready for you.
That's great information.
And right now, Kaiser's doing 75 and over.
Yeah, and they are doing, the vaccination center at Fairfax and Venice is running 7 to 7, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Anybody have any more questions on this point? Appreciate all the good feedback. Dr. Butler, thank you for being here, sir.
No problem.
Go back to taking care of that great business that you do in the community, man. We appreciate it.
I take care of my wife. That's what I'm doing.
That's job number one, bro.
I'm glad to meet you. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
And I saw Otho Day weighed in and Linda. So thank you guys as well for stepping up to volunteer and help us out with that. That's great. All right, we're a couple minutes behind, but we're going to keep rolling forward. Public safety and neighborhood watch. I'm sure most of you probably heard we've had a couple of unfortunate incidents. I think this past Saturday night, somebody posted it next door. There was a black Suburban that was casing vehicles somewhere on Mount Vernon. We dispatched some folk and went out looking for that vehicle and didn't find them. But again, I always try to remind people it's great to let the neighborhood know, but unless somebody's calling 310-482-6000, where the folks with the black and whites can roll up and do something, let us know second. That the first call should be to them. So keep that in mind. And then unfortunately, our neighbors that live on Mount Vernon close to Palmero and Fairway had a situation that happened a couple weeks ago. And Hirsch, I don't know if you're still on or if you want to share any details with our neighbors, but I know that a bunch of folks that live on Mount Vernon and close to that area are up in arms, and in fact reached out to us and want to immediately start working on some neighborhood watch and some other organized efforts, which really we all should be doing, because all of us can do a better job of getting to know our neighbors in our immediate area, street, block, and what have you. And as soon as we see something that looks out of place, suspicious activity or whatever, I wouldn't have any hesitation about calling the Marina sheriffs. Those guys are professionals. I believe that Sergeant Collins is on or will be coming on to answer questions and talk about this. But a couple of things that I want to point out. A couple people have been asking questions about coverage from the sheriff's department as you get toward the eastern side of the neighborhood. And it is tricky because on some streets, as you all know, you're in the county 1 minute and the next minute you're in the city. So as far as whose patrol jurisdiction it is, that can cause problems. But really at the end of the day, when we have a situation that needs law enforcement, we need to get the information to them and get a response. So, and I see Michael is saying there's a hand up. Linda, did you have a comment or a question on this topic?
Yes, I did. I just wanted to tell people there's been a rash of thefts of catalytic converters, not just in the area, but all across the county. And so particularly Prius cars, for some reason, they really target the hybrids. I had mine stolen, called the sheriff, they came out. They said that it was like the fourth one they had come out for that day. And so it's an expensive repair, like $3,000 for a catalytic converter. But what we did was afterwards, there's something called a cat security. It's a shield that can be put over the catalytic converter, because we saw in our security, it took them 4 minutes to pull up, go under the car and saw it off. So just be careful with your cars parked out on the front. Either pull them in or just be really careful. Expensive repair.
And thank you for that, Linda. What was the name of the protected device?
It's called Cat Security.
Cat
it costs
Security.
about $400, but I've heard people who have had their catalytic converters stolen twice. They stole it once, it was replaced. They came back for it the second time.
That's deep.
Yeah, so
Okay.
the $400 is worth it.
Got it. Thanks for that.
Mhm.
Hirsch, I see your hand is up. You want to go ahead and unmute and say something to your neighbors?
Yeah, hello everybody. John, I want to thank you first off. My baby's crying in the background. I apologize.
That's all right. That's what they do, man. That's
Yeah,
what they do.
You should see her in her diapers actually running around out here. John, I want to thank you personally. We had issues with communication with the sheriff's department, and you were able to get me in touch with the captain, and that changed everything as far as, the help we were getting from the sheriff's department. I live on Mount Vernon, 3616 Mount Vernon. We had an experience last Tuesday or Tuesdays before February 9th. We had a break-in. There were 4 African Americans. My 21-year-old came home. People were in the house. They escaped out the back window. My wife then proceeded to run up Mount Vernon, and they attempted to run her over. So it was a pretty intense situation. They were there for 30 minutes or maybe 28 minutes. Between those 28 minutes, they stole my safe. They stole, a lot of jewelry, my wife's wedding bands. It was pretty intense, but more than anything, it was a real kind of invasion of privacy. We have a problem on Mount Vernon where I am, is we're kind of lookout point central. So we have a lot of looky-loos that park on the street in front of my house and the neighbor's house right around there. We are calling the sheriff's department like 24/7. Well, I don't know, 24/7. They don't come very often when there's people in front of our house. There's people like hanging out. The majority of them are just kind of, I don't know, smoking weed and doing their thing. And we don't know the difference between, you know, people that are the real bad guys versus, or bad girls versus people that are just hanging out having fun. But this particular situation, there were 2 cars involved, one in the front of our house and one in the back of the house. And they were, you know, they waited until we left the house. They were scouting the neighborhood. We've gotten a lot of video, so we couldn't identify anybody.
And Hirsch, from the video that you got of those vehicles, I'm sure you gave all that to the sheriffs. Were you able to identify any license plate information or any of that?
So we were able to get one license plate. It was a stolen license plate out of New Hampshire.
Wow.
So I mean, they were professional. They went through all the jewelry and they knew the fake gold versus the real golds. They really did a number in a very, very quick period of time.
And what did the sheriff say? Because the issue you pointed out about people hanging out and just parking on the street and so forth, that's been something that, you know, obviously we're aware of it. Others have discussed it. You know, we have that issue on Olympiad from time to time. What did the sheriff say, if anything, about making suggestions about what we should be doing about that?
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I have to say, first off, you got me in touch with the captain, and that changed the entire world. Who got me in touch then? The sergeant, Avila, I think his name. I can get you all that information. And it's been a totally different world as far as information that we're getting. But, you know, when the sheriff showed up, they were in the house for maybe like 3 minutes, and they proceeded to talk about the new DA letting out prisoners and kind of like not being able to get information. And then we spoke to the detective, and it just seemed everybody was very diminishing what was happening. I'm speaking to the sergeant on Monday, I believe, and I'm going to bring up to him a need for us to be able to put video cameras into the neighborhood potentially, and then how to deal with just the looky-loos on our street, because we get them every single day. They're, you know, or maybe
I'm sorry, you're at Mount Vernon and what, Hirsch?
I'm at 3616 Mount Vernon.
So he's at Fairway and Palmero, Daryl.
Fairway, okay.
So
Yeah.
he's right down the way from you guys.
Yeah.
And Hirsch, you should know, we'll have some offline conversation about that. But as you can imagine, you know, this UHA originally started in 1979, but this version of it, UHA 2, was formed in 2016. And for the last 5 years, this topic of, you know, do we hire security for the neighborhood? Do we put up cameras? What's the most efficient and effective way to deter crime? That's come up over and over again. And I don't know if Sergeant Collins is on. I think he said he was going to dial in, but we can certainly get his opinion on this since he's the resident expert. But what we found is that at the end of the day, the best deterrent and the best way to deal with this is for all of us to be aware and to make those calls when we see suspicious activity and make these guys fear of getting caught, because the easier it is for them to come in here and operate and set up and, you know, like you said, be, you know, casing everybody and, you know, just sitting around with nothing better to do, and that being okay, that opens up the door for all this other mess to jump off. So the more, you know, again, it's a difficult thing because our young people are here, you know, they like to go sit out in their cars and do this, that, and the other. So, you know, with some people, I have no problem going out, having conversations with whoever, because that's just me. Everybody's not comfortable doing that, but we probably do need to figure out a way to address this so that they understand and everybody else understands that, you know, given what's going on, some of those protocols may have to change. Hirsch, you want to say something else real fast?
I mean, first off, I would love to become more actively involved in this. Second off, I mean, it is a real problem. I mean, one, these were professionals and they knew exactly what they're doing in a very quick fashion. So I don't know, you know, what is the real deterrent? I think there's a lot of questions there. And then two, I think you really have a lot of people that are in the neighborhood, moving around, sitting on the streets. So, you know, how effective can you be to call the sheriffs, and how often are the sheriffs being called? I think there are a lot of questions there.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that, really has to do with folks being able to look at and identify, when is really a need to call them versus, hey, these are just some young folks hanging out. I need to go tell them to keep it pushing. So, Sergeant Collins, are you dialed in? I think you're in here somewhere. You may have to hit *6 to unmute yourself. And if you're calling in, Sarge, I'm looking for your number. I'm not that smart to be able to identify you, but if you hit *6, we can hear directly from you. And in the meantime, anybody else that has a question or a point on this topic, that would be great. I hear some background noise, so somebody's unmuted.
Hi, John.
Hi.
That's not my background noise, but I just wanted to say these problems seem to have just started within the last several years. I don't remember, first of all, so much traffic that we have in the neighborhood. We have a lot of traffic in the neighborhood. I know probably during COVID, the park became exposed, probably through social media or what have
Right.
you, but we have a lot of traffic. It seems like we're having more thefts, burglaries, more incidences, and this is before COVID now. I'm talking about the incidents and the some of the traffic. But along with the cameras that are mentioned, is there any way that possibly we could have maybe certain entrances gated?
That's come up in the past, Alicia.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, I think again, we can discuss that and kind of look into the pros and cons, but for me, the cons on that far outweigh the pros. I don't think you can, it's kind of like the theory about walling off the country, right? Build the wall. People are always going to find a way to get in if they really want to. And I would love to hear some feedback from people that maybe live in Lafayette Square or West Adams or some of those areas, because they went to gates post April of '92. And it'd be interesting to see if they really experienced any significant decrease in, in crime or through traffic. That would be, I mean, at the end of the day, it's got to be a fact-based exposition, right? So if we decide to do something like that, we want to make sure that whatever path we take is the one that has the chance to be most effective.
Okay.
I guess maybe Sergeant Collins is either he's on and can't unmute, or he's otherwise tied up. I know Captain Johnson said he had another obligation, but
You don't know his number, huh, John?
hang on one second. Let me see.
I was gonna look for it, but I don't see which one.
I'm just going to ask him if he's on, and that way we'll cut to the chase.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Hey, this is Troy Green. How you doing, sir?
All right, Brother Green. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Hey, and I have to say that the idea of having the community gated off, it's been floated around, for a long time, even when I was part of UHA. But the challenge that we have in our community, unlike Ladera Heights, there's multiple entry points. In our community, there's entry points on multiple places off Slauson, as well as Overhill and Stocker. Stocker is one of the limited entry points, but to the south side, there's many ways to get into our community. So kind of difficult challenge to fence off our entire community.
Exactly. Yeah, that's, just think about all the places you can turn to go, either up the hill or down the hill from Angeles Vista into Windsor Hills and View Park. And, there you go. That's a good point, Troy. I think Sergeant Collins is on, and I'm going to try to unmute him as soon as I find out which of these phone numbers is his.
John, while you're doing that, this is Deborah Stith.
Hi.
And I was
Go
wondering
ahead.
if one of the things that could be addressed is whether just the sheriff's presence in the neighborhood could be increased.
Right.
I see a car every now and then, and I think that's one of the things that might make a difference. I was surprised to learn that Ladera had a substation, and I was surprised to learn that our sheriff's station was in Marina Del Rey, which seems far away. So if the sheriff could address that coming on, that would be helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that, Deborah. And Hirsch, Deborah is one of your neighbors on Mount Vernon, so you guys will probably be in contact on a separate channel later. But Deborah, the 2 points that you made, the substation or the community station in Ladera Center, that, from what I understand, is pretty much closed right now. I don't think that they're manning that station in the wake of COVID and so forth. So it's not like, Ladera has extra coverage as a result of that station being there. That's a community resource that is used for meetings and so forth. The real issue is, and this came up at our meeting last month, is coverage and resources, because there's only so many patrol cars that the Marina sheriffs have to allocate to Ladera Heights, Windsor Hills, View Park, and unincorporated View Heights. So if you just think about the physical geographics of that, they're based over at the end of Admiralty or Fiji, whatever street that is in the Marina. And usually there's at least one car, maybe 2 cars, I'm not sure, that are in this area, but just covering Windsor Hills and View Park, let alone Ladera, that's a huge area. So it is a matter of resources. And I would encourage folks to really think about, rather than, the expense of cameras, and of course we looked at private security and so forth, if there's a way for us to identify some resources and or generate some resources that could be used to help the sheriff deploy more patrol units to this area, that would be a wise use of dollars. Hang on one second. I think I've got Sergeant Collins coming on here. Give me 1 second.
Hey, John.
Yep.
Hey, okay, this is Troy again, and excuse me for parting in, but just based on a little bit of history and knowledge I have, regarding this and the safety issue where we used to have the CAC meeting, but a lot of it is the lack of crime, and as Sergeant Signator and also Thrash would say many times, if it's one and you're the only one, then there's an issue in this community. But when we have potentially 5 or 6 per month, that doesn't warrant the amount of patrols they have here. And again, I'm not diminishing anything, but that's what the resource is based on. Is if you have a minimum amount of crime, then that's what resources you're going to have, number of patrols there. So I think probably the bigger issue is really getting back to the block club meetings, or trying to enhance those, what we had. And again, being familiar with your neighbors and who's coming in and out of the community. But I just don't see it unless there's something tremendously happen different, that we're going to get more patrols. Because from my understanding, there's typically 2 on the west side at all times, and I should say east side. So the Ladera, Windsor Hills, View Park, you're going to have 2 patrol cars, and there may be 1 or 2 on the ocean side.
Right. I appreciate that, Troy. And don't ever underestimate the power of persuasion when you get enough people pushing the right buttons and exercising influence. I hear what you're saying, but I think that, if we decide as a community to decide to focus our influence on the right places, I think we might be able to impact that calculus a bit. So,
oh yeah, no, definitely not diminishing that. Yeah, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Always. And Sergeant Collins, I apologize. I know you gave me your number, and I'm trying to find you on the screen, and you said you're hitting *6 and you can't unmute. Maybe we'll see if we can schedule another.
Can he put his number? Can he put his number in the chat and we can find him or something? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, the number that he gave me, Daryl, I'm not seeing. It's a 310 number, and the only 310 number I see doesn't match that one. And I've tried to unmute it, but anyway.
Can you just call on the cell and put?
Oh, I see him. I see him.
I'm here now.
Oh, okay. Hey, Sarge.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was on the county phone and I kept hitting the *6 and I couldn't get in, so I just got another phone and just
Glad,
so I was
glad,
driving. So.
glad to have you. You have any comments to make about, your resources and ability to cover this area and some of the concerns that were raised before about, coverage and what happened with Hirsch, et cetera?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't quite get everything, but in terms, I just caught the tail portion of your comments in terms of resources. So, like Mr. Heath said, we are limited in our resources, and generally in any given time, we have like maybe 3 cars to work the East End, which consists of your area along with Ladera's area. And I had heard part of the conversation about catalytic converters. I'll start there. So in terms of that, it really, if it's a crew, it's literally can take 2-3 minutes for them to get under the car and then cut it and take off. And so in terms of that, people might say, well, what are you doing for that? So at some point in time, maybe a task force could come out. But as far as our guys, they can control the different neighborhoods, but not knowing where they're going to strike until you develop a definitive pattern to actually be able to stake out takes like a plan. So it's not something that we can do each day. So it's up to the patrol guys to drive through the different neighborhoods. But sometimes it's so quick when they do it. If we catch them, we can catch them. But as far as everyday patrols, other than giving extra attention to certain areas, but like right now it's sporadic. It's not like it's just one particular street.
And Sarge, what about the issue of, a lot of young people and just people in general? I don't want to dump on the youngsters, but there's an issue and folks are noticing an increase in the number of people hanging out in parked cars and so forth. What would you recommend our community do to address that specific issue and how it kind of sets the table for other stuff to jump off from that?
Right, and that was on Mount Vernon near the park.
Well, it's going on across the neighborhood, but right, that the neighbor who mentioned that said that he noticed an increase in people that were just sitting around. So it's hard to tell who's just hanging out and who's actually up to no good. Right.
So with that, it's kind of like a 2-pronged effort, right? It would take the if you're a resident and and you see something, right? When you just call, because sometimes people will just call and say, hey, this car is here, it shouldn't be here, or and then the watch deputy asks, well, what are they doing, right? Because people still have rights, right? That's part of this whole thing that we kind of get into if we just go and not harass, but if we just contact everybody who's sitting in a car and then it's for a reason. So we have to have a reasonable suspicion that something is going on. So if you see someone smoking marijuana, if you think they're casing, then those are the answers that you provide when you call the watch deputy, right? Because the call gets generated off of whatever information you give the watch deputy when you call in to place the call. And it's our job. We have to send a unit out. And then let me just say to the community, if there's something that goes on where the desk is rude or unprofessional, then you can always ask for the watch commander. You don't always have to go to Captain Johnson. Each shift we have a watch commander who's responsible for the actions of the on-duty personnel. So if something is said or isn't handled the way you would like for it to be, you can always request to speak to the on-duty watch commander. And the desk personnel cannot tell you that you cannot speak to the on-duty watch commander. And then he can take steps to ensure that your issues and concerns are addressed, if that answers the question. So that's there. But in terms of what we can do proactively, like I said, everybody who's just up and down on the neighborhoods, everybody who's sitting in the car, we're not going to necessarily just get out and contact, right? Because then you run into people's civil liberties and civil rights, right? And that's part of the issue of what's been going on. So if you see something, the guys can drive down the street and, even though marijuana is illegal, you can't just be out smoking it recreationally in your car. So if you call, let us know, and because we always have units on that side of town, right? So even if it's a limited number of units, they will respond. And then do just understand, and I don't know if this has been shared with you as a group already, is that when you call, depending on the severity of the issue, we have up to an hour to, unless it's like an emergency, then of course we'll come right away. But if it's just something suspicious, if they're actively breaking in a car, breaking in your home, that's something totally different. But if it's just, someone that doesn't look right, then depending on, we prioritize calls. So we have up to an hour to do what we call a routine call. So it could take up to an hour. So you might say, okay, well, I'll call it, and 8 minutes later, they're not here. Well, it doesn't mean, because we answer our calls. So even if it's near the end of shift, our guys will handle the call. And then if the guys are on something, it's up to the dispatch, to the watch deputy to tell you, hey, yes, sir, we got the call, but we're on a containment right now. So it might be a little while. And so my point is, if they're not going to be there within an hour, it's up to the watch deputy to advise you that the deputies are going to be delayed. And that's what you should expect when you speak to the desk.
Got it. And Sarge, I got another question for you, but I see Hirsch has his hand up. Hirsch, you want to jump in real fast?
Yeah, if I can. Sergeant Collins, thank you for being here. Where we are in the middle of Mount Vernon is like Looky-Loo Central. And it's kind of a running joke between our neighbors that we'll call the police, we'll complain about people smoking marijuana, and people don't come out. They really don't. Like, we've almost gotten so frustrated to the point at which we almost don't call as much. But the sheriffs are not coming out. And even when you speak to the dispatchers, they seem to think that marijuana is not it sounds like they seem to think that marijuana is not a big deal. I've actually heard a dispatcher tell me that marijuana is legal.
Well, that's definitely is the response you should receive. I'll send out a message to the deputies, but then, like I say, if you get something like that, then just call back and just ask for the watch commander, and then you just tell them, hey, I've relayed my concern. I don't think they've taken it seriously. I want to ensure that somebody's going to come out to the call, and that's how you handle it. It's that simple.
That's good advice, Sarge. And just to be clear, so everybody knows, obviously marijuana has been legalized, but that's in your own private home or apartment, not sitting out in public space smoking and getting smoke on other folks that might not appreciate it, correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay.
And then, John, then also, I think somebody had, right when I was coming on, someone was saying something about the Ladera Center.
Right.
So just so you guys know, the Ladera, the Ladera Center is only staffed by me. And then I'm there during the week. But as far as when I'm there, the doors are unlocked, but it's just a resource center. So we don't have any staff right now. The volunteers, because of COVID, most of them are elderly. So until they get vaccinated, and then we just haven't allowed them to come back yet. So normally we would have like a series of volunteers Monday through Thursday that would sit there, and you could come in and ask questions and things of that nature. And so with me being in and out of the community, even though I'm assigned there, I still drive out into the community and handle community issues. So there's no posted hours. It's just when I'm there, then there's a phone there to leave a message, but it's just that when I'm there, but there's no like 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, Ladera Center substation is open. That's not the case right now until we get staff, and we're trying to get an armed security guard to man the Ladera, that office 4 to 5 days a week. But it's trying to get money from our division. So the proposal's on the table, but it hasn't been approved, and I don't know when and if it's going to get approved. But as far as the Ladera Center, it's there. Like I said, when I'm there, you can always call. And if I'm there, I answer the phone. If not, then you leave a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But just so everybody understands, there is no assigned staff there right now, because the 2 persons that we did have assigned to community relations back in June were sent back to work the line, and I just left me by myself. So I've been by myself since June, pretty much.
Well, we appreciate everything that you and others are doing for the neighborhood. Let me go to hang on one second. Let me go to Gabriel because that person has had their hand up. And then was that Linda that was just, I couldn't see who that was speaking. Was that you, Linda? No? Okay, well, whoever that was, hold your thought. Gabriel, you can unmute yourself and we're going to take a couple more minutes and we're going to move on. Go ahead.
Hi, so my name's Ricardo.
Oh,
It says
okay,
Gabriel
sorry.
on there. That's okay.
All
Gabriel's
right.
my son, and it's Zoom set up for his school.
Okay.
So my apologies. So this question is actually for both Sergeant Collins as well as just for people here on the call who might have more experience with this. But I know someone asked in the chat, and I've wondered about this before. What about posting signs in the community regarding permitted parking? Wouldn't that also have an effect in terms of keeping out maybe some of the people that aren't guests or people that actually live here? And I mean, for example, I'm really close to the park, to Ingold Park. So there's a lot of people that hang out there and do their thing throughout the day, sometimes later than they're supposed to be. And I figured that might be helpful there, but like I said, I don't have a history with this, so I don't know if anyone else has thoughts or downsides that I'm not taking into consideration, but it feels like that could be something we could look into. And that's it.
Well, let me just say, so for the as far as the parking, that's something you would have to take up. You guys as a group would have to get together and propose it to the Public Works, because they're the ones that set up the signs and issue the permits. Now, the one thing is if you go down that road, once it's done, then it's kind of hard to undo, right? And then our parking enforcement would, I mean, this is down the road, but they would enforce the parking. But sometimes some of the communities that have it, it's once it's come, with it being limited parking in terms of getting the parking permits for your guests, right? Because once you do that, then everybody, you would have stickers for your home, but then when you have guests, then they would be subject to be ticketed. But it can be done, but that's something that you would take up with Public Works for the parking.
Yeah, and again, I would just, these are all good ideas and we're noting them, and, a lot of them, if not all of them, have come up before. So it really is just a matter of doing the research to identify what really works and what's most effective. Tony, you had, I think that was you that was trying to weigh in a minute ago, Tony McDonald Tabor, and then we're going to move on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tony.
Hi. Hey, Sarge. I was just wondering, now this had come up several times during the CAC meetings some years back regarding this, just our pocket of homes that if it appears that we're being targeted, then at minimum, I would think that we should have more of a law enforcement presence, even extra patrol. And when the neighbors are complaining about the ongoing problems of nuisance, congregating, narcotic activity, I think even the police presence, just a black and white, just driving by, could mitigate that problem. But what is your process when we're notifying the sergeant? The sheriffs that that there's a certain area that's being targeted? Do you think about a task force, or do you just deploy a unit to specifically for that area? What would you do?
So generally, sometimes for us on the line, we have a crime analyst, and sometimes by the time he compiles the reports and tells us about the trends, it's usually a few days. So let's just say if it happened, yesterday, I mean, it's not real time for us on the line. So on the line, if it's a crime that's occurring now, then of course it is. And then the crime analyst, he goes through, and sometimes he sends us stuff weekly, but generally a month, he compiles the data, and then he'll let us know what the crime trends are. So like, let's just say if a catalytic converter was stolen, at Walk and Don't Walk Street, so then a deputy would take it. So then the next day, another, depending on the time of day, let's say it's the day shift, you wake up and it's gone, and then that unit goes out. So we don't know until the crime analyst compiles the data. But with that being said, so you can also always have the ability to call in and say, hey, talk to the watch commander, hey, I would like to have extra patrol checks in this area because of X, Y, and Z. And then they do a patrol check request, and then we talk about it during briefing, and then units are assigned or told to go provide a presence and to log the check in their log. But then the second part, as far as the task force, so really for us, like because of our limited resources, it would really take something going on. And so maybe once we find out from our crime analysts, how many catalytic converter thefts we have, then that's where, and I heard somebody mention somebody speaking with Sergeant Detective Alva on Monday, then that's what his team would be in charge of using the detectives to set up like a task force.
Got it. Thanks, Sarge. And I'm going to thanks, Tony. I'm going to take executive privilege and assume that everybody who posted a comment in the chat or other opinion about what we should be doing is willing to participate in our public safety committee, because we need all that good ideas and energy. We need to organize that neighborhood watch. We really need to do as much as we can, because as we all know, this is an increasing problem that's just gotten more severe during this pandemic. So anyway, thanks guys. We're way over time. I'm going to quickly, real fast, talk about the Baldwin Hills Crenshaw Mall. I'm going to see if I can post something in the chat, but I think Jason Lombard was on here and he's on his way out of town. So Jason, I see you're still on, are you able to talk, Jason? You want to unmute and give everybody a quick update, and I'm going to look and see if Chris Pearson is here. But just for everybody's benefit, the proposed sale of the mall to Live Work, I believe, is officially canceled. And the new solicitation went out to the original group of bidders over a week ago with a due date of yesterday. So Jason, take it away.
Hey, John. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry if you can't really hear me, if there's some background noise. Like I said,
we can
I'm
hear
on my way
you.
out of town, so okay.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
So the sale to Live Work was canceled. There was a lawsuit that was submitted. I don't have a status of the lawsuit that was submitted by Live Work, but there was a request for bids that went out, and that request was for the due date of yesterday. It's my understanding, I know that there are at least a couple of bids. I can't really confirm how many bids there are or who they were, but the status right now is that we're kind of waiting to see where, who is awarded the contract or who's awarded escrow, and then we would go into another kind of escrow period to see when it would close. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern similar to what we were in before. But as soon as I know, I'll be sure to make sure that UHA knows. And then, in the meantime, what I want to encourage people to do is to attend the Pan-African Film Festival. Is going to be going on the 28th, February 28th through March 14th.
Absolutely. And on that note,
the sale, we are still, we are still open, we are still operating, and we do still need support. So.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jason. And on that note, we'll mention this later in the call, but tonight, starting at 5 o'clock, the Pan-African Film Festival is doing a special screening of 41st and Central, the untold story of the LA Black Panthers. I encourage everybody to go to paff.org and buy a $15 ticket. You'll be supporting not only the film festival, but Brother Greg Everett, who recently passed away. They're doing this as a fundraiser. That he's the one behind that film that made it happen. And they're raising money to help his family out. So we'll circulate that. And Jason, just so you know, I did, while you were speaking, I posted the offer notice that went out to the existing group of bidders in the chat. So the neighbors could see that. Does anybody have any specific questions or concerns about the mall while we have Jason? Nope. All right. Jason, travel safe, my man.
Thank you, sir. Like I said, I'll make sure that, it's easy to find me, but beyond being easy to find me, I'll make sure I come by and give everybody an update as soon as I have one.
Absolutely. We appreciate it, Jason. All right. Take care. Thanks. All right. So moving on, I think we covered everything on the mall. And obviously, if you guys have questions or concerns, you know how to, email us or reach us about that. Let's talk about Wayfinder Family Services. We've had 2 meetings since we last met last month. We hosted a meeting on February 4th with Wayfinder in the county, which was interesting. If you want to review that, it's posted on our YouTube channel. I think that was probably the first time that yours truly got a little irritated with somebody on one of these meetings. And I'll just let you watch the video to unravel that one. But suffice to say that we had a person representing one of our elected officials who seemed to think that we were out of order because we were upset or emotional about some of the crime and negative activity that's been happening in our community in the wake of Wayfinder. And clearly, those emotions are not only warranted, but expected and correct. So we want to make sure that folks understand that, you know, while we appreciate the need for services for troubled youth, most of whom are African-American and, you know, our kids, quite frankly, we're not willing to sacrifice our safety, our kids' safety, or anybody, or the safety of our neighborhood for anybody, period. So I think that message got delivered loud and clear. Hopefully it did. If not, we'll keep saying it. At the meeting that we had a listening session also at the request of DCFS, Department of Children and Family Studies, this past Wednesday, where we kind of went over a lot of those same points. But one main point that we were able to successfully make, apparently some of our folks in the county and state do listen, because now we've been extended an invitation to have some representation on this task force that is going to convene this coming, I think it's the 24th. I don't know what day of the week it is, but this is a group that's going to make recommendations and submit those to the Board of Supervisors as far as how they change or what they do with respect to the STRTP, short-term residential therapeutic program, if I'm remembering that right. I was extended an invitation to participate. I actually am quite more interested in seeing some other folks that know a whole lot more about this than myself. I know Otho Day is involved in this, and Tracy Purefoy, I don't know if Tracy is on, but she's been chairing our committee on this and doing a great job. Jacelyn Hall is one of our, hi Tracy. Thanks for all the great work you've been doing. Jacelyn Hall is somebody that works, I believe, for DCFS. So Tracy, you want to add anything to what I said as far as updating everybody on what we've been doing? And Jesse, I do see your hand. Go ahead, Tracy.
Yes, I just want to, I apologize. I'm not sure if you can hear me well or not. I'm driving.
We can hear you. We got you.
Thank everyone for being involved, calling the supervisor, Holly Mitchell's office. We have to continue to remain diligent about this because we live in this community. You know, their main concern is housing the juvenile youth, but our concern also, of course, is the juvenile youth, but we're concerned about our safety, and that's our primary concern. So we have to continue to stay woke about this situation. So please do not lose your passion and your zeal about this, because this is a very important situation that we have to remain on top of. And we, as a committee, will continue to stay on everything, on top of everything, and we will keep everyone abreast as well.
Outstanding. Thanks, Tracy. Jesse, you had your hand up, and then we'll go to Lori. Go ahead, Jesse.
Okay, I have really 3 things. One, the meeting that was held on the 4th really affirmed some concerns that I've had all along, which is that our representative has made her reputation on children's services. The children's services people have a whole state organization. They have a whole county organization to represent those programs. And we have nobody but the person whom we elected, who doesn't seem to be responsible to us for election. And her representative at that meeting came through loud and clear as being very confused about what that office is supposed to, what the office of our supervisor is supposed to be about. And that made me, I was really very angry about that. But the other thing that gets me is we've talked about the sheriff, and the resources available. We talked about the number of calls that are going there. We don't have much in terms of sheriff resources as it is, and we keep hearing about the amount that's going into this facility. And no one has answered for me what is going to happen as the Department of Juvenile Justice shuts down. What are the plans for the youth that are coming out of those camps? And are we likely to see more of it here? They're talking about it becoming a transient facility, a 10-day, not just a 1-year residential facility, but also a 10-day transient facility. And the whole emphasis just sort of ignores what the possible implications are or ramifications are for the neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
All good points. Lori Glassell, go ahead.
I agree with everything that Jesse just said, first of all. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I agree with everything Jesse just said, first of all. Second of all, from a process standpoint, we absolutely need more than one person on that committee. Our community, in terms of Wayfinders, is impacted more than any other group in the whole county. And we definitely need more than one person. And then my final point would be in line with what Jesse said, how can we impress upon our new supervisor that while we too are concerned about youth in our county, we're also concerned about our safety and the safety of our youth that are our children. And I don't think the plan is take care of the youth of the county at the expense of a neighborhood. So those are my points.
Excellent point.
Hi, John.
Hey, Jason, I'm coming to you. I was just about to
Okay,
say,
I'm waiting.
I think we can probably form the nexus of who should be on this task force just based on the last couple of people that spoke. But go ahead, Jason.
Okay, so based on John and Tracy and myself and Otho, the STRTP program, from what we were told at the last meeting, is being done away with. They're down to the last. Apparently, I think we were at 6 youth that were still left there.
Jason.
And that's another program that we're not happy about. So we've been talking about it, John, Tracy, and I, and Otho. So we're working on that. I don't have a problem being on that meeting this week. I do agree there needs to be more representation, but I also want to state, I think that as neighbors, we need to continue to push Holly Mitchell. She was in charge of Crystal Stairs, so she's going to be an advocate for these programs. I do work with DCFS with a contracted agency, and the new program that they're bringing in is going to be a 10-day. It's not a homeless, but it's basically a placement, a temporary placement location until they place the minor youth in the home of a foster facility or of a family member that is cleared by the Department of Children and Family Services. So they're not supposed to be there more than 10 days, but several questions I have is how many children at any given time can there be? The age is going to be from 0 to 18. And then are these new staff, or are they going to continue with the current staff that they have? And how is that going to impact the neighborhood, and what say so do we have? So I can't get the acronym right, but I want to say it's either is it TSTC, John? Is that the new acronym? I keep forgetting what the acronym is, but they actually have a facility. Okay, so they actually have a facility downtown for that. And it raises a lot of concerns because I know how that facility functions downtown. So the fact that we are going to be a temporary facility, that's a whole nother concern. But I have zero issue. I did see the emails go back and forth because I know Otho's on it, but he's representing a different level. So if Tracy can't do it, I have no issue doing it.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Helen Maxwell, and then Otho, I'm coming to you. Helen, you got your hand up, unmute yourself and go ahead. Helen, are you there?
Yes, okay.
Okay, we hear you, go ahead.
Okay, yes, I think that it's very important that we are really on top of what is being proposed. It could be even worse than what we have now. I think you have to look at the fact that when you are talking about a shelter, you are sometimes talking about kids who were having difficulties in their placements. And even from the STP programs that then are in temporary shelters. So we do need to know how many kids. These are kids that are even making less of a commitment. There's supervision of these kids. And really, if we're talking about, 20, 30, how many kids are we talking about? 40?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Helen. That's one of the questions that we've asked for clarification on.
We may be looking at a bigger problem than we have now if we don't frame it.
Right. And Helen, just so I'm clear, you are a recent retiree of DCFS yourself, correct?
Right. I was a division chief regional administrator, and I also was I ran the emergency shelter for the county for 9 years. Okay.
So
until I left that.
So between you, Jacelyn, and Otho, we could run the task force and tell the board exactly what they need to do, right?
I think so.
Most definitely.
Know what to look at.
Go ahead, Otho.
Okay, just to give some more information on these type of kids and programs. 2019, look up David and Margaret Transitional Housing Program. That was a program for the same age population, older kids population, where they killed a fireman. And they took his body. I think he was buried somewhere in the San Bernardino Mountains or somewhere. But look up the David and Margaret. I think they shut that program down because of that incident. But they can't shut this one down. That's why I just look up David and Margaret Transition Housing Program murder. If you Google that, that should be able to pick up on some things too. But the 10-day that they're talking of, the 10-day population, kids with the same age, and DCFS has never been known to move a kid in 10 days. It's very, very rarely. I mean, it happens, but very rarely. So those days will be extended. So it'll just be a shorter version of what we have here if it's the same type of kids. So I don't want them to try to trick us with the word it's a 10-day.
Right. When they go to the TCSF or whatever the new program is.
TSCF,
right.
Temporary Shelter Care Facility.
Thanks, Otho. And
Yeah.
thanks for reminding us that at the end of the day, obviously there were a lot of bad things that were happening, but a young man got killed. And that's the other thing that was so egregious about, the attitude that we picked up on from that person representing the supervisor is, hey, we can talk about theories and all that, but a young man has been killed. So all that other stuff goes out the window once that happens. Let me just, for sake of being able to get some clarity for the group here, Helen and Jacelyn, are you both saying that you're willing to serve on this task force? Although I already know you're involved in a different capacity, so we want to keep you there. Right. But Helen and Jacelyn, you both are willing?
I think so. I think that, yes, I think, Otho, I think I would be a good representative. What do you think?
I think so, because the inside,
And
as we say in the county, you know where the bones are buried.
Right.
So you can tell them, and they won't be able to pull the wool over your eyes.
Nope.
Right.
Like they're trying to do with the community with this 10-day facade.
And right. Jacelyn, same for you. It doesn't create an issue because I know you're actually working for DCFS, right?
So I work for a contracted agency, but even if it did, it's not a conflict of interest for me, and I would stand and fight on it because it's still my neighborhood. Regardless of where I work, I still have to live here and I still have a family, and this is my community. So I don't care whether I work for them or not, I will be on the committee.
Okay.
Got it.
Let's share phone numbers and make sure that we have to get together on this. Great.
Yeah, that's a good point, Helen. And we'll make sure I'll work with Tracy, and we'll make sure that everybody who's been working and putting so much energy on this Wayfinder issue is in contact. So, I mean, by acclaim, unless you guys think there's a need for a motion, I'm just going to take executive privilege and appoint Helen Maxwell and Jacelyn Hall to represent us on this task force and tell the wonderful folks at the county that this is what we want to happen.
Okay.
Any concern,
Perfect.
question, or opposition?
Thank you, ladies.
I'm retired, so there's nothing that can happen here.
All right. Plus, you know, we got you.
That's right.
We have you guys back, so nothing's going to happen anyway. And I see a question that just popped up in the chat. This is actually, Lori Blake, this is a separate committee we formed this just to focus on Wayfinder. The public safety committee's dealing with, you know, the crime, neighborhood watch, traffic issues, that type of thing. But we wanted to focus on Wayfinder and this STRTP temporary care facilities issue because it was so pervasive. I think I saw somebody said one person has their hand up. Was that Alicia? We'll take a quick minute to take one or two questions and we're going to move on. Anybody else?
Hi, John. No, I was just giving a thumbs up with this committee for Wayfinder. I was just giving my approval.
Outstanding. All right. All right. Good. It's always good to get a pat on the back for sure. All right. Well, thank you guys. And Tracy and Jacelyn, Otho, Helen, thank you all. I know there's some other neighbors that I'm Cherie Bradford, Derek Richardson, I think was calling in. He just got off a plane, but all you guys, we need to get Mr. Thompson from 54th Street Elementary back involved in this too. And yeah. I see Anita Nelson is on as well. We appreciate you guys for standing up and making sure that that we're knowing what's going on over there. If somebody wants to join this committee or wants any information about anything we're talking about, just email us, email info@uhawhvp.org. We'll make sure that your request gets routed to the right person. Tracy, do you want to give folks your email if they want to email you directly about the Wayfinder issue?
Yes, I'll put it in the chat.
Thanks. Outstanding. All right, guys, moving on. We're, what is it, 3:34? We might be able to rescue this schedule here if I talk real fast, which I'm not good at doing. Land use issues, and I'm going to ask my compatriot in crime, Tony McDonald Tabor, to step in on this as well. And also anybody that either lives close to Slauson and La Brea or that knows can give us an update. But on land use issues, I understand that the gentleman who owns that hillside site on La Brea, just north of Slauson, has workers out there today that are erecting a fence trying to get the homeless folks from being over there, although I don't know if he's fencing the whole site off. Quite frankly, that whole site has become an eyesore, and we may have to circle back with the zoning enforcement person at the county to see what we can do to clean that up. But this is the guy, Merdad Sahafi, I believe is how you pronounce his name, who got that property from an elderly African-American couple. I won't bore you guys with the details, but he partially erected a foundation. That couple ended up losing the property. He took control of it. He supposedly is planning to build these 30-something townhomes on the hillside, which I personally think is a dumb idea. That's just me. But more importantly, he's now become kind of a absentee landlord and allowed the property to become a nuisance. Somebody started a fire up there a couple of weeks ago. And the sheriff has been out there. I probably should have asked Sergeant Collins to weigh in on this when he was here earlier. But some of our neighbors that live at the apartment complex right behind the old Arco station have been letting us know what's been going on. So apparently that site is being fenced off. We'll have to keep an eye on it, and we'll certainly keep the county posted on whether there needs to be additional measures taken. Similarly, the vacant lot at Slauson and Heatherdale, the infamous car wash site, is apparently the subject of ongoing litigation. There's some question about challenges to the title to that property. And I believe there's some litigation that's being pursued by the county DA, so that's working its way out. I'm reminded, Daryl Grayson has always reminded me to talk about this, but we need to raise some money through our UHA Community Development Fund so we can start to buy up some of these properties and stop complaining about nuisances and start taking control and building or creating the things that we want to see in our community. So more on that later. Thanks for the hand clap, Alicia. On the View, the 88 condominium project that's supposed to happen at Stocker and Overhill. No new news to report there. We still don't have a planning deputy appointed in the supervisor's office, and I'm told that their attention will be turning to land use issues soon. So we'll keep you all posted on that. But of course, we continue to push her as a person who says she's the moral conscience of the legislature previously, and now I guess she's the moral conscience of the Board of Supervisors. But the bottom line is she's someone who understands the importance of integrity. We believe that that decision specifically, the decision to green light the entitlements for that project behind the community's back without any public discussion, debate, or disclosure was wrong and should be it has been overturned, but it should stay that way. And we need to start that conversation over and do a full environmental impact report to look at all the environmental impacts of that project. And I should say too, that's really the bottom line issue and concern we have about Wayfinder, because the changes in the clientele being served at that facility were done also without any public disclosure, discussion, or debate. That's a big problem. Any other land use issues, Tony, that I should talk about? I know we can talk about SB 9 and SB 10, but go ahead.
Got info last night about the car lot, Slauson and Mansfield, that's across the street from the old car wash lot. And back in 2018, we had contacted zoning enforcement, so they launched an investigation and reported that the vehicles that were stored there had been repaired and they were being maintained in operative condition. So we'll follow up with them on Monday and give them the updated info, because apparently some neighbors there are saying that they're inoperative vehicles that are on that lot. Regarding the lot that's just west of the old car wash, some regional planning. So they did issue the final zoning enforcement order to the new property owner for the unapproved grading, and they also have some type of plant nursery. So the owner's been notified that he needs a conditional use permit, and he will be cited and enforcement action will move forward. And he was given a deadline, I believe, in the next 2 weeks. But
and Tony, that's the vacant lot that's right there just east of the gas station, right? On the north side of Slauson.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I should have said we're just moving fast, but that person reached out to us. They sent an email to us, which we got and we responded to, basically, even though it's listed as being for sale. And I hope this guy does sell it, because he doesn't really sound like or strike me as the type of person that we want to see develop in our community. He wanted to reach out to us and have an audience about his grand new development idea. Now, this is after he got caught, as Tony just said, doing the illegal grading without a permit on his property. And thankfully, we have neighbors that are vigilant. That's how that got discovered by the county, was somebody who lives above that site called and called the city, or the county rather, to let them know that somebody was doing grading without a permit, which of course is illegal. But we'll keep you all posted about that guy, because he's got some explaining to do. Go ahead, Tony.
Other than that, just we were assured regarding the old car wash property that regional planning, that the case involving that old car wash lot is at the forefront of their effort, and it is a priority. So we'll continue to monitor that as you mentioned. What about United Neighbors?
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I was going to mention that. Tony is referring to a coalition of homeowners associations that UHA really was instrumental in creating, or at least providing the spark of inspiration for. We keep having all these different crazy legislative proposals from Sacramento, SB 50, SB 1120, which our Assembly member Sidney Kamlager gave a great floor speech about last August and helped kill, which was fantastic. And now SB 9 and 10, and all of this is being done and offered under the pretext of, well, we need to increase density in upzone single family neighborhoods because we need more affordable housing. And so somehow, by some magic, by basically making land more valuable, by making the density capacity even greater, which, you know, as far as I'm concerned, is just going to increase gentrification and make it that much harder for folks that look like the majority of us to afford housing in this area. That's the idea, is that SB 9 says that in single family neighborhoods, you should be able to build up to 4 units. They're claiming it's a duplex bill, but it really is a 4-plex bill, because with ADUs, you could turn a single family lot into 4 easy, and maybe even 8 under certain circumstances. So that's just nuts. And then SB 10 is another piece of the SB 9 is from Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins, who's from San Diego and is a good friend of the affordable housing and just development industry in general. And then SB 10 is our old buddy Scott Wiener, state senator from San Francisco, who he's not even from San Francisco, he's from the East Coast. But anyway, he thinks it's a great idea if we could build as many as 10 units on single family sites. So that's what SB 10 does. So again, we've got a fight on our hands. It's nothing new. We're very confident. And furthermore, what we have done is on a proactive level decided to say, listen, we recognize there is a critical need for affordable housing in Southern California and around the state. We agree with that. We also want to see everybody do their share to address that. All the affordable housing, all the special needs housing shouldn't just be in South LA or East LA. Everybody, the West Side, Brentwood, Beverly Hills, our neighbors over there need to do their fair share. So this is part of the conversation. So what we've said is to homeowners associations in those various neighborhoods, the Valley as well, let's all come together and unite around this basic concept that we need to be proactive. We can't just keep saying no to stuff. We need to be able to identify something that we can all say yes to and push for. And of course, when you're being a positive force, people tend to gravitate to that more quickly. So that's what United Neighbors is. And I believe the website is unitedneighbors.net if you want to find more information out. And it's brand new, so there's really not a whole lot. But suffice to say, you all are going to start hearing an awful lot about SB 9, SB 10, Article 34 of the state constitution. And again, we readily admit back when single family zoning came into existence, that was done based on a racist white supremacist premise because they didn't want colored folks living in these areas. And most of you know, if you look at the deed history of your own property, you're liable to see some crazy restriction about, Caucasians only, unless you happen to work here as a domestic servant. So, I mean, yeah, the history is bad. We recognize that, but that history ain't the reality now. The reality is that many communities like ours have African-American proud single-family homeowners. We're not interested in seeing our neighborhood become something that it's not. In fact, many of us moved here and want to live here precisely because it's not a high-density neighborhood. And that should be fine. That's not saying we're against affordable housing. That's not saying we're against density where it makes sense. That's just being practical. In fact, that's just being smart about the way we implement land use policy in our community. So that's the basic message. And sorry for running on that, but Tony gets me charged up when we start talking about this land use stuff.
Here, here.
Thank you, sir. So that's it on that. Unless somebody has some specific question about land use issues, I'm going to open up the floor to new business and announcements real fast. And we're only 15 minutes late. That's not too bad. And while you all are thinking about all the new business you want to talk about, let me remind you that tomorrow, if you know somebody who's age 65 or older, who's a frontline health worker, Faithful Central Bible Church in Inglewood is going to be doing vaccinations. I don't think an appointment is required, so make sure you check that out. I'm going to put my screen up again because I want you all to see this little nugget. Oh, great. Now I messed myself up. I can never figure out how to get the doggone. What can I do to fix this? Wait a minute.
John, unshare and then share.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Thanks, Mike. What's the thing I want to see here? Let me do that. What I was trying to do. Thank you guys for bearing with me here. Supposed to be good at this Zoom stuff, but I'm still learning like everybody else. What I wanted to show you all was this, and just remind you that you can go to this. I'll put this in the chat. This particular site, paffmovies.square.site. But this is, you can go here right now. You can click here, I think, or down here and donate, and you can still get access to this. I've only seen part of this movie. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I'm excited. It starts in an hour and 15 minutes at 5 o'clock. But our neighbor, Bernard Arafat, who lives in Leimert Park, posted about this on Nextdoor. And, obviously this is an important part of our history and the history of LA that we should all be aware of. 41st and Central, the Untold Story of the LA Black Panther Party. And again, it's a fundraiser for Brother Everett and his family, since he unfortunately passed away from COVID last month. So let me post that here for everybody.
Okay,
Tony,
John?
yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, I just share an item on a personal note that my stepfather was one of the attorneys for the Black Panther Party on that issue of the shooting on 41st Street.
What's your stepfather's name?
Leo Branton.
Wow.
Leo Branton.
Wow.
I've heard that heard that name before. Yep.
Yeah, he's a legend. He was Angela Davis's attorney and famous civil rights attorney. And Geronimo Pratt, he and Johnny Cochran did a number of cases together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So see that it's a great film. I've seen it before. It's great.
Yep. Thanks for sharing that. I was just about to say that Johnny's former partner, Carl Douglas, is a neighbor who lives in Ladera Heights, I believe, and a fellow Bolt Hall School of Law alum. So a lot of great, it's amazing. I should have posted this, but I didn't, so I'll share it with you all. One of the many things that I love about this community is how you're in the midst of greatness and you don't even think about it or appreciate it. So last year, we lost Mr. Sweet Lou Johnson, the great famous Dodger who won at least one World Series ring and who lived on Valley Ridge. He passed away in late 2020. Well, the other day I was out front with my youngest son throwing the football and looked up, and five-time NBA champion Mr. Michael Cooper happened to be walking by. And, no big deal. He's just out walking, getting exercise. So we exchanged words, and then he walked a little further up the street and exchanged words with Super Bowl champion Calvin Sweeney that lives right next door. So I'm like, man, in what other neighborhood anywhere can you have an experience like that? And it's not even a big deal. It's just, some neighbors out there enjoying a wonderful day. So anybody have any other new business or announcements? Going once? Going twice? No other hands raised. Thank you, Michael. Well, Joanne Fountain, my fellow board member, chastised me last month because, I know one piece of business. We got to make sure everybody knows we're now meeting every month on the third Saturday at 2 p.m. So our next meeting is going to be Saturday, March 20th at 2 p.m. So mark your calendars and we'll try to do a better job of getting the word out. Again, everybody encourage your neighbors to join UHA, donate, and most importantly, give us your time, energy, and talent, because we need as much help as we can get to keep serving the community and keep our representation strong. But I was about to say, I'm teasing you, Joanne. You jumped on me at the last month's meeting because I wasn't quick on the draw with some music. So I'm ready for you now. In fact, I flipped the script. I've got, let me get this queued up before I start talking all this stuff. I've got a little treat for you all that like poetry. So stand by. I think you'll like this as we close the meeting.
Mr. President and Mrs. Clinton, Mr. Vice President and Mrs. Gore, and Americans everywhere. A rock, a river, a tree, hosts to species long since departed, marked the mastodon, the dinosaur, who left dry tokens of their sojourn here on our planet floor. Any broad alarm of their hastening doom is lost in the gloom of dust and ages. But today, the rock cries out to us, clearly, forcefully, "Come, you may stand upon my back and face your distant destiny. But seek no haven in my shadow. I will give you no hiding place down here. You, created only a little lower than the angels, have crouched too long in the bruising darkness, have lain too long face down in ignorance, your mouths spilling words armed for slaughter. The rock cries out to us today, you may stand upon me, but do not hide your face. Across the wall of the world, a river sings a beautiful song. It says, come, rest here by my side. Each of you, a bordered country, delicate and strangely made, proud, yet thrusting perpetually under siege. Your armed struggles for profit have left collars of waste upon my shore, currents of debris upon my breast. Yet today, I call you to my riverside, if you will study war no more. Come, clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was a bloody sear across your brow, and when you yet knew, you still knew nothing. The river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They all hear the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree speak to humankind today. Come to me, here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed-on traveler, has been paid for. You who gave me my first name, you Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you Cherokee Nation, who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of other seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, you, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Kru, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on a nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourselves beside me. I am that tree planted by the river which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces. You have a piercing need for this bright morning dawning for you. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands. Mold it into the shape of your most private need. Sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for new beginnings. Do not be wedded forever to fear, yoked eternally to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space to place new steps of change. Here, on the pulse of this fine day, you may have the courage to look up and out and upon me, the rock, the river, the tree, your country. No less to Midas than the mendicant, no less to you now than the mastodon then. Here, on the pulse of this new day, you may have the grace to look up and out and into your sister's eyes and into your brother's face, your country, and say simply, very simply, with hope, good morning.
Thanks, guys.
what's so great about that, other than the great Maya Angelou and her brilliance, is you can look at Big Bill Clinton and you can see how sincere and moved he was just by appreciating those words that she dropped for that day. That pretty much says it all. So again, thank you all. One last thing that I forgot to mention, our neighbor Florence Ochi, who's with our neighbors, Ladera Heights Civic Association, she recently fell in her home and had an injury. So she's recuperating from that. So you all say some, light a candle and say some good prayers and words and keep a good thought for Florence. And we will see you all soon. Take care. Oh, somebody's asking when are meetings scheduled. The next meeting will be Saturday, March 20th at 2 p.m. and we'll be meeting monthly as long as we're on Zoom. It's not so hard on your leadership. When we have to meet physically, then we'll have to go back to quarters. But every month we can muster the energy to get on video and work with you guys here. All right, thanks everybody, and take care and God bless. And we're going to keep on pushing in the memory of Art Fields and everybody else that's gone before.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you, everyone. Good meeting, great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Great meeting.
Thank you, Mom. I know that voice.
Hi, Berthan.
Bye.
I know that beautiful voice.
That's the voice that were it not for that voice, I wouldn't be here. All right, guys. Thanks again.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.